Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice Radio. So today, we need to have a little bit of a look at a new Machamp card. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We've been taking a look at these new exclusive Detective Pikachu cards, and some of them we're not going to be taking prolonged looks at. But some of them we absolutely are, and the last one we really need to look at here is Machamp. Ladies and gentlemen, this Machamp could be really, really good. Could also be disappointing, but it could be really, really good. So starting off then, we've got 160 HP, which is high. It's up there with stuff like Dragonite, but we've seen a whole bunch of Pokemon that don't have 160 HP. So this is good. The retreat cost of 2 is not good. The weakness to Psychic, it's fine. I mean, Naganadel will get a one-hit KO, and there are some Malamar decks around, but other than that, you should be okay. Being a fighting Pokemon, however, is just plain great. You got Brooklet Hill to get your basic. You've got Diancie Prism Star to do a little bit of extra damage. We've got Fighting Dojo coming, which does a little bit of extra damage. More on that in a moment. And that's before you get to stuff like Choice Band, and you're hitting weakness against Zoroark and Pikachu and Zekrom, which could well be the two best Pokemon in the format. And yeah, it is a really, really good time to be a fighting Pokemon. But we're never going to get excited about a fighting Pokemon unless it's got good attack. So I suppose the question is, does it? And the answer is, might do. So first of all, one fighting energy, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, and put them back in any order. Now this is a kind of attack which is really nice on a basic Pokemon and largely wasted on a stage 2. Because best case scenario, you've used a rare candy, it's your second turn, and you have a Machamp out. So on your second turn, do you really want to be spending that turn rearranging the top 5 cards of your deck? I'm not entirely convinced that you do. Now, first of all, this is just going to help you draw stuff. You've got no supporters. Hey, pop that Cynthia to the top of your deck and jobs are good. That's quite nice. But how about something like Entei from Lost Thunder? Now, to be fair, I don't think you're probably going to play Entei with Machamp, but we've seen a million attacks like this over the years. This is just one example. And Eruption does 80 damage. And each player discards a top card of their deck, and you do 60 more damage for each energy card discarded in this way. Well, if you do that with Machamp, hey, you can guarantee you've got an energy on top of your... No, that's not strictly true. As long as you've got an energy in the top 5 cards of your deck, you can guarantee there's an energy on top of your deck. The problem is, first of all, it's a stage 2 like we talked about, but also, we got a couple cards. We've got Judge and Marshadow. And if your opponent drops a Judge or a Marshadow, not only do they give you a new hand of 4 cards, which they're going to be hoping is fewer cards than you've got in hand at the moment, but they're also going to be messing up your top deck. Which means, yeah. So that's going to completely and utterly ruin it. And that's a huge problem. Honestly, I don't like this attack. So let's stop talking about it and start talking about the other attack instead. The other attack for 2 fighting energy, Cross Chop, 80 damage, flip a coin. If heads, this attack does 60 more damage. Now, at this stage, the obligatory reference to Victini, the one, and I did in a video the other day, I accidentally put the wrong Victini in. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry about that. And Victini just lets you reflip from an attack. So now instead of having a 50% chance of hitting heads with Machamp, you've got a 75% chance of hitting heads with Machamp. And now you're doing 140 for 2 energy. And let's be 100% clear on this. 140 for 2 energy is absolutely great. I mean, if we look at the other Machamp which is legal at the moment, this is the one that came around in Guardians Rising. And the only way you do more damage for 2 energy is if your opponent took 2 or more prize cards on their last turn. Which is possible, but not that likely. For 3 energy, it does 150 and 30 to itself, so 2 energy 140 is starting to look pretty good when the alternative is 3 energy 150 and 30 damage to yourself. This is a good amount of damage if you can get the heads, but like I've said, with Victini you got a 75% chance. Here's the thing though, you're a fighting Pokemon. So actually that whole 140 damage, no! You are not restricted to 140 damage here. We can do better. Because you see, we got Diancie Prism Star. And Diancie Prism Star gives you an extra 20 damage. So all of a sudden, yeah, you're not actually doing 140 anymore, you're doing 160. Then we got Choice Band. Choice Band puts you up by 30, so now you're up to 190. 190 is good. 190 means Buzzwole. 190 means Blacephalon, etc. But we're not actually done there. Because that Fighting Dojo thing I briefly mentioned earlier, Fighting Dojo says that you do an extra 10 damage just so long as you got a basic fighting energy attached. That's both players' Pokemon. But if you're behind on prizes, you do an extra 40. So if you're not behind on prizes, you're even or winning, you're up to 200. Hey, Lycanroc. But if you're behind on prizes, you're up to 230, and then you're getting something like a Gardevoir. That's ridiculous, ladies and gentlemen. That's crazy for 2 energy. This adds up quickly. And look, a Stadium Diancie Choice Band is really not the most difficult combo ever. You're at 140, Diancie puts you to 160, Choice Band puts you up to 190, and the Stadium puts you up to either 200 or 230, depending on whether you're behind on prizes or not. This adds up very quickly. And that's before we look at hitting for weakness. Because if you're hitting for weakness, don't hit heads. No one cares. It's not important. Because with a Choice Band, you're getting a 1-hit KO on a Zoroark. With a Choice Band and an Diancie Prism Star, you're getting a 1-hit KO on Pikachu and Zekrom. You're golden, ladies and gentlemen. You don't need to hit the heads if you're against those Pokemon. And that is wonderful. Big fan of this attack. And the other thing is, and this is kind of a double-edged sword, right? You can use counter energy. If you're behind on prizes, you can use counter energy to pay this as a single energy cost. The problem is, if you're behind on prizes, you can use Fighting Dojo to do 40 rather than 10. But if you're behind on prizes and using Fighting Dojo, you've got to have a basic fighting energy attached, which means you can use counter energy if you're behind on prizes. That is true. And Fighting Dojo will do extra damage if you're behind on prizes. That is true. They just don't really work very well together, which is an issue. Kind of a big issue, if I'm honest with you, because you basically get one or the other. You don't get them both. Okay, that's a little bit sad. Honestly here, the biggest and really only problem with this Pokemon is the fact that it's expensive. In terms of being a stage 2, the energy's really not a huge problem. And the amount of damage you're doing is good. And the amount of HP you've got is good. There are many good things about this Pokemon. But you're a stage 2. And look, I've mentioned this in a million different videos. Alolan Vulpix will search out your Pokemon, and Alolan Ninetales will then go and, when you evolve it up, go and search out a couple of item cards, including rare candy, etc. And it could work. But we've got the non-GX Buzzwole, and the GX Buzzwole, and Lycanroc GX. I don't know if this is actually viable in that regard. What I will say is, I like this a lot more than Machamp GX. Yay! But I don't know how much I love it. I really like the attacks, I like the HP, I love that it's a fighting Pokemon. If you can reliably get it out as a Stage 2 Pokemon, yes, we good. But if you can't get it out as a reliable Stage 2 Pokemon, we just end up in an awkward situation. So let's give it a fairly generous 3 Wassies. I like it. I just worry that it's going to be a stage 2, and that's going to be the undoing of it. But hey, I'd very much like to know what you think about this, so please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, but please do remember the rule, ladies and gentlemen. Be nice, would ya? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about other games. And I think you might like some of them. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.